Right, hi guys, how are you? Well, hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm not quite a YouTuber yet, so not much of the hi guys. But anyway, last time I was talking to you, I was saying we were going to work through a design task, which is basically taking a design brief through to the point of having a final solution, a final design. And in the last video or the last lesson, I went through this sheet and I put it together as I was and talked about it as I was going along with it. And there was a few important points that were on it, and one is, well, what's an analysis? And I said at the time, it's basically you asking yourself, what do you know, what has to be in this design brief? And we said that it must organise desk items, it must be neat, not too big, attractive, easy to get at, small footprint. And then I said investigation was the next stage. What are we going to use in it? Now, an investigation can be far broader than this. We're only doing a relatively simple, relatively basic task. And when you're doing your third year project, we'll do a lot more detail than this. But for the moment, that is okay. And I, at the end of the video, asked you to add 2 more items to the unit in terms of 2 things that it's going to hold. And I'd said, go on Google and have a look and see, well, what's available for this. And I'll come back to the Google side of things in a minute. But first, what's the next stage here in making progress? So what I'm going to give you now, or what I'm going to do now, is more of an overview of how you complete this task. So we've already started it, we already know what it's about. Well, what's the overview, or what do you need to do, or how do you need to do it? So when designing something, we do a thing called designing step by step. Now I'm just going to turn the page and I'll turn the camera to match if I can. That's better. Okay. And I will zoom in a little bit. There we go. Right, now, so what exactly are we doing here? Well, first of all, I'm just going to box that off there at the top. We already know what our brief is. A compact artifact for your desk to organise writing and study accessories, stuff we all need at the moment, in a neat and compact way. Right, so just keep that. The reason it's up there is so that you keep thinking about it. It's still cycling away in your head. But the question I want you to think about now is, well, how do we design? Okay. You know, like, it's very easy for me to say, go away now there and design a desk tidy. But the question is, how do you do that? There's always a process in these things, okay? And the answer to that really is, well, it's a step-by-step process. Goes back to that thing that I always say, how would you eat an elephant if you had to? Well, you'd eat him bit by bit and you get to the end. But it is step by step, so that is important. But there's a name for it, and it's called the design process. Now, the reality is, whether you're in Abbeyfeale in a classroom designing a project for your third year woodwork exam, or you are, I don't know, Steve Jobs or whoever it might be, coming up with the first iPhone or coming up with products like they make, you still go through a design process, no matter how small or simple the item may be. Even if you were only making something in your backyard, you do it almost without thinking about it. Oh, this needs to be so big, this needs to be whatever. Just because you didn't write it down doesn't mean you didn't go through a design process. Now, the design process, right, comes after the design brief. The design brief outlines the details of the item to be made. So we did that, what has to be in the item. And it's basically a list of instructions you must follow. Now, after that, when you get into the brief or into the design process, you've thought about the brief, you've thought about what needs to be in it. And then there's kind of a cyclical process that you cycle through and you keep coming back to in order to get to the end and get to the idea. So there are 6 steps in this. So step number 1 is the analysis of the brief. A-N-A-L-Y-S-I-S. Analysis of the brief. Step 2 is investigation and research. That's what you've been doing. Mind you, some of you have been sending me in your ideas already, which is great. but you weren't asked to do so much. After that, then over here we have development of design ideas, which is where we are tonight, or today for you, because you'll be looking at this tomorrow. I have to do all my videos at night. Development of design ideas. And after the development of design ideas, we start coming up with sketches, which is also where we are tonight. Notations, which is notes. Working drawings. Then over here we continue on. So this was number 3, number 4, number 5 is manufacture. So it's only at this stage that we get to making. You have a load of steps gone through before you get there. Manufacture of chosen. Now the word chosen is important because they're assuming, as am I, that you have more than one solution. Manufacture of chosen solution. And then the last thing, right? So just before I write down, actually, let's look at it again. So you analyze, you investigate, you develop your ideas, you draw your ideas, you sketch your ideas, then you make it. And it's only then that you get to the very last one, which is number 6, the evaluation. Now we've done a lot of evaluations at the moment. Evaluation is when you stand back, you look at something and you kind of say what's good and bad about it. As kids, in general, you do it a hell of a lot more than you realise. The amount of times that kids would have made something and you'd, like, I might come up and say, oh, that's quite good, or that's quite nice, or whatever it might be. And then you'll turn around to me and say, ah, yeah, but look, I made a mistake here, or look at this, or this is broken. For some reason, we tend to focus on what's not good. But that doesn't mean that that there isn't good points either. Anyway, the evaluation of the design. So what have I done well? What's good about the design? What could I do better in the future? Am I happy overall? Does it do what it's supposed to do? All those questions. In the new technology course, all those questions take on way more importance even than they had in the past. All right, so in the interest of knowledge and note-taking and all that sort of stuff, because I want to try and keep these videos as similar to what we would do in school as possible. And even though I'm writing this out here and it's on the screen, the purpose of these videos is not just to have you look at something and to, well, just to look at it. I want you to look and do. That's how you learn. You learn by doing. You don't learn a hell of a lot by looking. Think of all the TV programs you've ever watched in your lifetime. How many of them do you actually remember? You looked at them all. And at the time, they might have been the best TV programs you've ever seen. So, looking and doing. Doing is very, very important. I just made my camera sway, sorry. You should see the setup I have for the camera. Anyway, it's hanging from the ceiling to turn it into a visualizer. Mind you, it's probably a better visualizer than the actual visualizer in school, because the camera on my phone is a hell of a lot clearer than the camera in school, because the camera in school was full of woodwork dust. Anyway, right, so there's my design process. So what is it? It's a design process. Let's say it again. What is it? It's a design process. So you start with number 1, move on to number 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, no surprises there, 4 to 5, and 5 to 6. So, and I should make it big and obvious as to what this actually is. This is the design process, or this is called nice big letters, the design process. Will I fit it in? I will, just about. So make that nice and heavy, because that's what we're doing. The more you write, the more you think, the more you learn, the more you calm yourself down, the more you feel like you're doing something, getting somewhere. I actually feel great doing these videos because I actually feel like I'm teaching you and I'm getting somewhere and I'm going over stuff, or at least touching on stuff that we've done before. So this is called design process. Okay. And that's what we've been doing on this sheet, the design process. Don't ever forget it from here on in. Okay, so what am I saying when I say that? I'm saying that in order to design something, the process you must go through is: step 1, you analyze the brief. Step 2, you investigate and research the brief. Step 3, you develop your ideas. Step 4, you do some sketches, plural, underline it. Notations, which are notes, working drawings. So I must explain what a working drawing is too. Step 5, you manufacture your solution. Step 6, you evaluate your project. And back to 1 then, sometimes if the project isn't good enough, or actually I'll go back to the example I had a minute ago about the phone and Steve Jobs. Like, there hasn't only ever been one iPhone. So when Apple came up with the first iPhone and everyone thought it was great, what did Apple do straight away, or more or less straight away? They went back to the drawing board and started this whole process again. Okay, so design process. It's ongoing, it's constant, constantly changing. All right, so that's our design process.